How you doing, everybody? Jack from Jack's Meat Shack. Today we're cooking this 5.5 kilo turkey from Field and Flower. Beautiful turkey, free range bronze turkey, weighing at 5.5 kilos, and we're going to cook it on the Big Joe rotisserie. So we've got our grill stabilised at 150 degrees Celsius. We've got our charcoal banked to the rear of the grill. First, we're just going to talk about how we prepare the bird for the rotisserie. Ready for the rotisserie, a little bit different to a chicken. We want the legs and the wings not to go anywhere, so we're going to use some butcher's string to keep them in place. But first of all, what I want to do is basically just trim these wingtips away to cut through that joint so we can keep that for stock. So we've removed them now, so basically we can then tuck in our wings when we truss our bird. But let's get on to the seasoning part of the cook. So what I'll do is I'll bring you a little bit closer so you can see what we're actually doing. So what I've done here is just used my fingers to basically access the space around the actual breast of the bird. So if I spin it round and show you, we've gained access to all this space underneath. We've been fairly gentle so we don't rip any of the skin. So what we can do now is actually season the underneath of this bird and the leg cavities here, so we can actually gain access to this space here as well. So we can stuff that with some of our herbs. And here is just mixed in a bowl some of our Cornish sea salt and pepper mix and some garlic granules. So we've just got a nice coarse sort of fairly inoffensive rub, because you think if you're doing this for your Christmas dinner, some people might not want overly sort of barbecuey flavours, so this is fairly sort of neutral. So a little bit of rapeseed oil, then we can start to just season. Don't forget to season inside the bird as well, so we are gonna just season that cavity inside. And this is going to go on the rotisserie, so we're going to access all the sides while we cook. So what we'll do is we'll just put a little bit more just on the base of the bird. So I want to impart as much flavour into the actual flesh of the bird as I can. So we've got some rosemary, we've got some thyme, and we've got some sage. And what we're going to do is just make some little bundles that we can sort of stuff into the cavity of our bird. So we'll just get a good sort of, maybe get 3. So we'll do some thyme, a little bit of butcher's twine. We'll just tie it together. So there we are, a little bundle of herbs ready for the turkey. In between here, where the legs meet the sort of breast cavity, you've got a nice little space. What we'll do is we'll use our bundle of herbs and we'll just insert them as deep as we can into that cavity. Same with the other side. Then we've got one left over for another day. But what we're going to do now is just season as best we can inside of the crown without actually breaking the skin of the turkey, because we want that skin intact to protect the meat during the cook. So we've got a little bit of space here anyway. So what we'll do is just using our hand, we'll just make a little bit of space and just season down into that cavity. And then use your hand just to move it down. So there we have it. We've seasoned the inside of the bird. We've put in our bundles of herbs. Where we've handled, obviously, the bird quite a lot during the seasoning process, we have lost some of this seasoning on top, but don't worry, what we'll do is we will now truss the turkey ready for the rotisserie, and then we will just re-season where we've lost some of that on the outside. So just always make sure you save a little bit for that. Where you're going to handle it, move it, season it, you will lose a little bit of that surface seasoning anyway. But what we've achieved is basically seasoning all that sort of flesh inside. So that crown of the turkey, we've seasoned that with like nice salt, pepper, garlic. We've got our bundles of herbs in. So now what we'll do is just use our butcher's twine just to tie the legs together and then secure the wings so it's all ready for the rotisserie. So cut yourself a length of butcher's string. And then what you can do is just bring the two legs together and almost close off that cavity, that back cavity. And then what you want to do is go underneath, tie those wings together at the back. This is now ready for our spike. So we've gone straight through the bird with our rotisserie spike, and then we're just going to use the forks to fasten it in place. And then now what we'll do, we'll just re-season where we've knocked off some of our seasoning during the process of getting it trussed. We will also use our meter to monitor the cook. So we're going to take out our wireless thermometer and then we'll place it as deep into the breast as we can go. So that will give us a true reading of the bird during the cook. Once the turkey's on the rotisserie, the cooking process is fairly simple. You don't really have to do a lot more. All I would do is check on it sporadically, maybe every sort of 20 minutes, just to make sure that the rotisserie spikes are still holding the bird in place, because it's a 5.5 kilo bird. So as it turns, you will get a little bit of force as the turkey spins. And as the turkey starts to cook, it will start to shrink up. So you might find that your forks sort of come out of the bird. So you will need to readjust them during the cook. So I would say invest in a good pair of heat-proof gloves. These are like double layered with silicone on the outside. So they're very good for handling the hot spike of the rotisserie. So check on it sporadically during the cook, but we've used the meter to monitor the cook. So when we get the notification that the bird is near enough at 75 degrees Celsius, we'll take it off, we'll let it rest, and then I'll show you how you will carve your Thanksgiving Christmas turkey. The meter is telling me we're 5 minutes away now from the turkey being cooked. So we wanted to get to 74 degrees Celsius. The meter will calculate that time, the ambient temperature of the grill and the temperature of the meat. So it will give us a good indication of when the meat's ready. So once we get it off the Kamado Joe rotisserie, we're gonna literally let it rest at room temperature for around an hour before we even touch it. So we basically want all those juices and fats to redistribute around the turkey before we carve into it. And then I'll show you how we are gonna carve our bird. Look at that beauty. Our turkey's rested now for a good hour, so what we'll do is just start to carve into it. So first thing I'm going to do is just remove the string that was trussing it together, and then we'll take it off of our tray. But we'll keep the tray, 'cause it's got all the nice juices in it, so we don't want to waste them. And then what we'll do is just take out just our bundle of herbs that we inserted into the cavity. And now we're ready to carve. So as I said, it's been sitting at room temperature for around an hour, and I still imagine this will be warm to the touch. So if you're worried about cooking your turkey on the barbecue outside and not getting the timings right with the stuff inside, this can sit uncovered for a good hour without losing sort of any temperature, because it's been at high heat for about 2 hours, so it will take a long time for it to go stone cold. You can always cover it loosely with some foil if you're worried. Don't tent it though, so don't wrap it entirely in foil, put a towel over it, because all that will do is basically push your internal temperature up, so you'll end up with dry turkey. So what we'll do first of all is start off by removing these legs. So as we sort of go down into the bird, we'll find the natural separation from the thigh to the cavity. We can just use our hand to break that joint. So what we've done is just disconnected that thigh bone from the main carcass, and then what that gives us is a beautiful juicy leg and thigh. What we can do is separate this further just by going down the centre. And again, just finding that natural joint. So we've got the drumstick, and we've got a beautiful turkey thigh with that amazing skin. Look at that. And now onto the main part of the cook, well, of the carve. So we've got our crown. So what we'll do first is just take off the wings. So again, you want to just cut into that wing until you find that natural kind of joint that attaches the wing to the actual rest of the bird. And now what we've got left is just the crown, so the breasts. So we can do this two ways. We can take out the wishbone, which is in the center of the bird, which allows us to carve directly off of the carcass. But what I prefer doing is taking off the breast in its entirety. So if you kind of find the middle of the bird and make an incision in, and then what you can do is basically just using your knife, work your way down the side of the cavity. So you'll feel a little bit of resistance on the actual carcass, and getting as close to that bone as you can. Is just take off that whole breast. So nice and juicy, still nice and moist. Look at that. So as you see, we've kept quite close to that carcass there. Then we'll just repeat the process the other side. And now we can just trim them nice and thin because they're flat on our board, so it's easier to get some nice slices out of them. So we'll do that now, and then that is pretty much it. And there we have it, our beautifully butchered turkey. So we did rotisserie on the Big Joe, salt, pepper, garlic seasoning. We used the meter to monitor it, and then we sliced it with our Starrett butchery knife. But look at that, that's beautiful, moist turkey, beautiful skin. As I said, retain all your cooking juices. You don't want to lose them. They will keep your meat flavoursome and moist. So yeah, that's pretty epic. So if you're gonna cook your Christmas or Thanksgiving turkey on your barbecue, that's a good way of doing it. See you all soon.